Welcome to Top 10 Archive. Don't you just love sitting down and watching some of your favorite movies? Wouldn't it be a shame if someone came along and, say, kind of ruined the experience by pointing out glaring, inexcusable errors? Enter this installment for the 10 most obvious movie mistakes. We promise after this archive, you won't be able to overlook these noticeable goofs. Number 10. Gotham Times Can't Spell. The Dark Knight Rises. Gotham City is notorious for its slew of villains, and The Dark Knight Rises seems to birth one more. Of course, we're talking about the misspeller. At least, we hope that's who was being introduced when Christopher Nolan and his team of crackpot editors gave us this gem, a misspelled headline of the Gotham Times. Maybe it was a call to the complete incompetence of everyone that's not Batman in Gotham City, but chances are it was a grade A noticeable goof. Number 9. Nixon's Resignation, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a wonder when movies go out of their way to set a time period, either by mentioning the year directly or including a memorable event from that time. Or, heck, some movies go so far as to include both. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is one such movie, and while it's definitely not one that's meant to be taken seriously, it's hard to overlook Nixon's August 8, 1974 resignation speech, which plays on the radio while Brad and Janet are driving along. How can this be considered a mistake, you ask? Just moments before, the scene is set by the criminologist as a late November evening. Could it just be a rebroadcast of Nixon's speech? Chances are incredibly slim, especially since it's so predominantly heard throughout much of the scene. Number 8. Transplanted Palms, Halloween. John Carpenter's seasonal classic, Halloween, is memorable for many reasons. From the William Shatner mask that became a horror icon to Jamie Lee Curtis's induction into Scream Queen fame, the 1978 film was a revered gem. But that doesn't mean it was perfect. In fact, if you pay close attention, you'll notice some irregularities. For instance, dendrologists and those familiar with American geography will likely raise an eyebrow to the palm trees visible in the fictional city of Haddonfield, Illinois. For those unfamiliar with the natural features of the United States, Illinois isn't really known for its palm trees. That would be more like Hollywood, California, where much of the movie was actually filmed. Number 7. Dorothy's House Slippers, The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy's story revolves quite a bit around the magical, sparkly ruby slippers, so it would be strange for the movie to show her off in anything but, right? The wonders of movie making beg to differ, as it's unlikely that Dame Judy Garland filmed every scene in those stiff-looking slippers, but for anything else to make an appearance is an unfortunate slip of the editing team. During the Scarecrow's attempt to snag some apples, a brief scene shows Dorothy moving around in more comfortable black slippers. You'll never make it home in those, dear Dorothy. Number 6. Lake Wissota, Titanic. Chances are, unless you're from Wisconsin, you have no idea what Lake Wissota is, and normally that's okay. It's nothing incredibly special, just a man-made lake near Chippewa Falls that was filled in 1918. Apparently, Titanic protagonist Jack used to fish in these manufactured waters, which may prove peculiar to Titanic experts as the unsinkable vessel set sail 6 years prior to Wissota's creation. Is Jack a traveler from the near future, or did the writers overlook or lazily ignore this minor detail of Wisconsin's history? Our vote is for time traveler. Number 5. A time-traveling guitar, Back to the Future. It's always painful going through a classic movie and picking out glaring mistakes. Hey, but somebody has to do it. Though we enjoyed our time with Doc Brown and Marty McFly, we couldn't help but notice a weird mistake thrown into the mix during the Fish Under the Sea dance. Yes, we know it's Enchantment Under the Sea, but oh, never mind. Back to the mistake. The fateful dance took place in 1955, meaning it would be impossible for Marty to be belting out Johnny B. Good on the Gibson ES-345, a guitar that wasn't released for another 3 years. Mistakes happen, but if you're going to travel back in time, fact-checking is pretty vital. Number 4. Gas-powered Chariots, Gladiator. Maybe the ancient Romans were a bit more advanced than we initially assumed. How else could one explain the gas cylinder visible underneath one of the chariots in Ridley Scott's Gladiator? Alright, so maybe it was more of a movie goof than a hidden secret of Roman technology. During the Battle of Carthage recreation in the Colosseum, a chariot flips over, revealing what was likely a forgotten rig by the practical effects team and an oversight of the film's editors. Number 3. Impossible Currency, Django Unchained. Quentin Tarantino's 2012 Western, Django Unchained, garnered plenty of praise from critics and moviegoers. But of course, there were some glaring mistakes that we cynics are bound to point out. Mistakes like the 12 $1,000 bills presented by Dr. Schultz. It would be unlikely that the gentle doctor would have one, let alone 12 of the bills, mostly because the currency he was paying with wasn't put into production until 1861, 2 years after the movie takes place. Number 2. Where'd the ground go? Jurassic Park. The escape of the Tyrannosaurus Rex in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park remains one of Hollywood's finest moments, which is what makes it so painful that it's followed up by one massive goof. The error here lies in continuity of the Rex paddock layout, as it seems to go from being level with the road to having a massive drop that the Rex is able to push the Jeep down. As viewers, we try to ignore it, but there's no denying that once the Rex escaped its enclosure, all ground that it had stood on magically vanished and gave way to a rather sizable drop to a moat below. Number 1. Low Bridge Stormtrooper, Star Wars. It's one of cinema's most iconic movie mistakes, and there's no way we're going to forget about it. It's not easy being a stormtrooper. One would have to assume visibility is not the best in those clunky helmets, which would justify this clumsy trooper smacking his head against the door as he enters a control room in A New Hope. Strangely enough, in one of the 400 different versions of the DVD release, rather than edit the scene out, a thumping noise was added.
Take over.
If this oddly accepted goof teaches us anything, it's that doors are apparently the only thing stormtroopers are able to hit throughout the entirety of the Star Wars saga. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, be sure to visit and sign up with our friends at Geek Fuel by using our affiliate link found in the description section. For just $20 a month, you'll receive at least $50 worth of geeky stuff that you'll actually use. Each box comes with a t-shirt you'll actually want to wear and a free Steam game download, usually valued at $10 or more. Don't miss out on this monthly box that Stan Lee himself endorses. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to keep updated on more lists like these, box openings, and giveaways. Really? We pointed out a misspelling in the Gotham Times? Why so serious?